letting go of physical pain is not different to letting go of emotional pain. It's the same practice, and in this video I will show you exactly how to do it, okay? More importantly, first and foremost, before we actually get into the practice, you must know this. It's not so much that you need to let go of the pain. You need to let go of the resistance to pain. And that is what the practice that I will show you today will help you do so seamlessly, naturally. Because although the pain may be uncomfortable, it is the resistance to the pain that we suffer. This practice that I'm going to share with you today will show you that you have the capacity within you to be aware of the pain in the same severity, right? The pain could be just as much there, but when you learn to let go of the resistance towards the pain, you can be with that pain and that pain can remain, yet you don't suffer the pain. All you need to do is learn to live by the one teaching that we will be covering today. And it requires you to learn to observe without judgment. Learn to observe without describing. Learn to judge without fighting. Because notice that the way that we are conditioned, anytime you feel anything uncomfortable in your experience, you run away, you resist, you fight back, you try to distract yourself from. And there's always a constant commentary going on about the discomfort that is arising in your experience. So whether it be a faint feeling of fear, or in this case, physical pain, we're always mentally describing and talking about the pain. We're talking about what the pain is, when will it go, why is it here, what is causing it, will this ever heal? You see? And we have an image in our mind of the illness that we have that is the cause of this pain. So we're living in a complete projected world, giving reality to a projected world of descriptions and interpretations and concepts. Whereas the pain itself or the discomfort itself is very actual. It is here. When we learn to feel the pain, when we learn to observe the pain, and we'll be covering it in the practice in just a moment, when we learn to feel the pain and step out of this projected world, when we learn to observe and experience the pain without all this dialogue, then the pain plays itself out for however long it needs to be there, and it vanishes, if it must. But no longer do we suffer the pain. The suffering is not created by the actual sensation or the feeling of pain, but rather it is a byproduct of remaining in the conceptual projected mental dialogue about the pain. That is where the suffering comes from. So once you dissolve the suffering of the pain through this practice, the pain, for however long it must be there, it will remain, and it will go. And it may come back, but you will no longer have the same relationship with the pain as you used to. Again, right? Previously, you just used to run away or hide or resist, fight back, distract. Now you'll just simply be able to be the space of awareness in which the pain is arising and it's going. The awareness of the pain has no resistance to the pain, has no conflict with the pain. The space of awareness is at no conflict whatsoever. It's simply aware of what arises and subsides. There is equal awareness of your pain as there is of pleasure. Awareness is not biased. It does not divide. It does not dissect. Suffering is a byproduct of the mind dividing, dissecting, resisting. So this is the middle man that we have to cut out. So let's do it. What does this look like in practice? And this is something that I share with you from my experience. I've experienced a lot of pain in my body over the past few years. It began with a physical illness many years ago now, probably around, I don't even know, like 8 years ago. And everything about that story, I'll link up here somewhere, okay? It's my story. You can go take a look after this video. But this practice, right, it starts off, it's sort of subtle and it's difficult to do. But as you just commit to it, you will see that it will absolutely transform not only your relationship with pain, but your relationship with everything. Once you're able to do this with pain, you're also able to do it with your emotions, right? So it's a crucial aspect of emotional mastery. And it equips you with the capability to go through your experience and not suffer. The experience which is constantly changing, constantly comfortable, uncomfortable, good, bad, up, down, positive, negative. When you are not able to practice what I'm sharing today, then, right, when we're just living, running away from discomfort or distracting or fighting back, then we really suffer life overall, not just the pain. But once you're able to now practice this, once you commit yourself to the practice, you'll see that not only will you be able to live with the pain freely without suffering it, and will begin to start dissolving the pain itself, but also you'll be able to go through your very changeful life experience without suffering the events that happen. So here's the practice. Tune into the pain wherever it is in your body. Acknowledge that pain is a sensation. Before it is even called pain, it is simply a sensation. Pain is a label, a mental label, already with a negative connotation to it. But before that negative connotation even comes in the mind, the feeling, the sensation of pain, that's what I'm asking you to tune into, become aware of. Now notice that maybe the moment you focus on the pain, automatically you're like, oh no, I can't. Oh, it hurts too much. Or you're saying, oh, I have this pain because I have this, this is a long-term illness and I've had this and You're simply being asked to acknowledge that there's an awareness of pain, that you can bring your attention to the raw sensation of that pain. Here, you are learning to observe it without talking about it, without resisting it, without running away from it. Step out of your mental dialogue to simply look at the pain. See, the awareness moves towards the pain. It is an all-embracing awareness. With open arms, move towards the pain. And allow it to be. Feel it fully. There's no difference between observing the pain and feeling it fully. They're the same thing. What holds you back from just observing the pain without any conflict? It is, again, this constant talking that is arising. It arises and it takes you with it. And once again, you are no longer just in reality, you have gone off into projection about the pain. No longer are you just experiencing the pain for what it is, but rather now you're gone off into ideas about pain. And you suffer ideas, you never suffer reality. So what this requires you to do, the moment you catch yourself in thinking about the pain or whatever else, you simply bring your attention. You bring your attention away from the dialogue, the thoughts, to the raw sensation of pain itself, wherever the discomfort is in your body. Observe it. It's similar to being able to look at this glass and not talk about it. Usually, if I ask you to observe this glass, you're going to be like, oh, okay, it has a nice design on it. The glass is half full. It's a clear glass. It has water in it and not soda, right? Like the mind is constantly just talking about it. The mind observes through this constant description, judgment, interpretation. But you're not being asked to describe the pain. You're not being asked to talk about the pain, interpret the pain. You're simply being asked to look at the pain. All your suffering is in the mind's talking. You may not know this yet, but this will reveal itself to you in this practice. And that's why it feels so unbearable, because the talking makes it seem that way. It makes it out to be a big villain that it is not. I'm asking you to look at the glass. Look at the pain. Plainly look. Silently look. You have the capacity to do so. You're now learning to, through this practice, experience life without constantly living in ideas about life. You're learning to live life as it is, rather than always living it through a distorted filter about what it is. It is your distorted filter which makes you suffer. Life as it is as it should be, where pain is given equal validity as pleasure. Both go in flux, in and out, up and down. So you can, if this is too hard to do with pain in the beginning, you can actually practice this with a physical object, right? Because pain is a subtle object, and emotion is a subtle object. You can start this with a physical object where you're able to see and look at the object without talking about it. The moment you notice yourself talking about it or even something else, simply bring your attention to the object itself. Your capacity to do this will be very less in the beginning, and you won't even know if it's working or why you should do this. Even being able to bring your attention where you want it to be is going to be difficult if you don't meditate. If you don't practice any meditation, or you've never practiced any meditation, this will be very difficult for you. So this is why you need to establish a meditation practice. You can learn more about that here, somewhere on the top. Please watch my 3-part series on meditation, because it will teach you how to really live by these teachings rather than just boast about them conceptually or be in the state of, oh, this doesn't work for me, or I don't get it. But this practice becomes way easier when you are ripening in meditation. But yes, you can practice this with a physical object first and then move on to the subtle object, which is the pain, which is a sensation, or emotions, right? Why don't we have emotional mastery? Why do we suffer our emotions? Because, right, we resist them. We identify with them. We don't have the capacity to observe, to simply be with them, to feel them as they are. No, we're constantly living in ideas about who's making us feel this way, what this means for me, the person, what my life is going, all those narratives. That's the suffering right there. So learn to observe the pain. Feel it so fully in your body. Exit any ideas about the pain. And stay with it. You can even breathe into it. Now, there are a couple of things about this practice that you should know. You can't do this while having resistance towards the pain. You can't do this practice to try to get rid of the pain, because that very resistance is itself the mind's interpretations, the mind's description, the mind's judgment. That pain should not be here. As long as you are resisting the pain, you can't observe it fully. Observe and acknowledge the fact that even there's a resistance to the pain here and now. As long as you're resisting the pain, you won't be able to practice this. You will practice it, but with a filter, and that filter will limit you. It will hold you back from plain observation. Now next, as you're practicing, don't need for the pain to go away. We have a common idea of letting go, that it must go away just by observing. In some cases, it does right away. In some cases, it stays for a good while, then it goes. In some cases, it doesn't go. Leave that to life. You don't need to figure out when it needs to go, what should be here, what should not be here. Again, those are ideas about your experience. What should be, what should not be, what is good, what is bad. You're living through mind. Learn to practice this and let what comes come, let what goes go. Don't expect anything to happen. Don't expect the pain to go by you just practicing this. What surely will go, though, is your suffering of it. Now, don't also ask, how long should I practice this? Of course, there will be certain periods where you're able to sit down and practice this. But there will be certain times when you're out and about, maybe at work or whatever. The point is this: you don't have to sit down and practice this every single time. But in any moment of you resisting or running away or fighting against the pain or judging the pain, acknowledge that, wake up to that. And rather than give in to those judgments, simply return to the pure observing of the pain, feeling it fully. Not offering any ideas about it, not offering any resistance to it, not judging it, not needing it to go away. Once more. There's a quote by Krishnamurti. He said, "Learning to observe without judgment is the highest form of intelligence." You see, when you are simply aware without description, when you give attention to something, you're flowing your love to it. You're flowing your energy to it. You're flowing the awareness to it. This is the greatest healing. This is the greatest transmutation. This is the greatest transformative agent. It will do with your pain or your emotion whatever it must. You are not in charge of that. You only have the capacity to put this into practice. When you do it with devotion, you open up your life. For you are no longer living it through simply resistance to what is, but rather an open embrace. And that's what awareness is. Awareness is open, free of conflict, and all embracing, all accepting love. You don't do acceptance. You're not practicing acceptance. You at your very nature are acceptance. Learning to boil down into that essence of yours through this practice is what results in acceptance. It is utter simplicity. But in the beginning, the mind will resist. I'm telling you right now. It won't understand. It won't see the benefit in it. And it may even fail to see the benefit in it. But you must devote yourself to the practice anyway, if it resonates. Because only through consistent practice of this will it work, and will a whole subtle realm of intelligence and understanding open up to you. You will wake up to the subtle aspects of this and life in general. Again, learning to observe without judgment is the highest form of intelligence. That intelligence will reflect in the body, in the mind, in the world, if you allow it. And your pain is simply the catalyst for that awakening. The same pain that you consider such a villain that shouldn't be there is the only thing motivating you towards this, towards seeking something deeper than just what you know, than just the common resistance and fighting and running away. It is waking you up. So wake up. I'll link my playlist on acceptance, emotional mastery, and in this way, pain mastery up here. Make sure to watch that. You can watch a video a day if this is the topic that resonates with you and is relevant for you in your spiritual journey right now. I also teach this in my Letting Go masterclass. You can watch that in the description box below. It's completely free. And if this is something that you need my help with, if this is something that is too subtle and you're trying it and you're having a hard time with it, if this is something that you want my support in consistently, then you can learn more about my School of Awakening, in which I help people to dissolve mind identification, awaken to their true nature, and become free from suffering their experience. So if that sounds something that is interesting to you, learn more about that below as well in the description box. I'd love to have you as a part of our program. But I hope this video was helpful today, a good guide on how to deal with pain. I'll see you next time.